From the Center for the Arts studio, this is Good Afternoon Ashland. I'm Ethan Jenkins.
And I am Caitlin Meeks. Thanks for tuning in.
In campus news, the Spring Choral Concert on April 30th was dedicated to the late Timothy Genther. Genther was a longtime organist and adjunct music instructor who passed away in February. The concert was composed of performances from the AU Choir, the AU Chamber Singers, and the Ashland Area Chorus. The Chamber Singers, a select group of 13 AU students, performed a wide-ranging group of songs, starting with You Are the New Day by John David and Peter Knight. Then the Ashland Area Chorus, a mixed choir that is open to community members, presented Sweet Day and the Willow Song. And finally, the AU Choir performed The Glory of the Father and Oh Taste and See. The concert began at 4 p.m. and was free and open to the public and was located inside the Jack and Deb Miller Chapel. There has been a change made to the Hawkins-Kennard Student Center with a new senior wall put together to replace some of the projects that did not come through due to lack of donations for this year's senior class. AUTV 20's Logan Gray has the story.
Ashland University Senior Class President Mark Biltz has some plans for a senior class gift for the university campus, one of which does not look like it will be seeing the light of day.
What we did is we had a few fundraisers where people could give. The large proportion of donations came through from the Day of Giving, which happened in late March. All combined, right now we're currently at about under $1,000. So we sadly aren't going to be able to do the eagle, the bronze eagle that we talked about earlier. But we're thinking of substitutes that would mirror the same premise and tradition that we want to establish here on campus, but we're thinking of different alternatives so that way we can still give those who donated something to leave behind on campus.
There was another idea that has been accomplished, being the senior wall.
Yeah, so the senior wall was something really cool. Dr. Robert Poole was really the spearhead in that program. So what we did is it's going to be a yearly thing where students can submit pictures of themselves, them in groups, and it will get displayed on the senior wall. And if you haven't had the opportunity to go and check it out, it's a really cool opportunity to see some of the highlights of the seniors that are graduating, as well as get an idea if you're a junior, sophomore, or even a freshman, of you creating some pictures to put on the wall, because it'll refresh every single year. It's really beautiful, and it's a great addition to the Student Center. It gives it a new life, so to speak, because a lot of the pictures in there are a little bit outdated. And so this will be something fresh that'll be done every single year.
The wall is located in the Hawkins-Kennard Student Center on the second floor near the mailroom staircase. For AUTV 20, I'm Logan Gray.
Now that the senior wall has been established, it will become a tradition for each senior class to continue to upkeep it.
In local news, Hillsdale Middle School has opened a capsule that was sealed since 1927. Nearly 100 years later, the school decided it was time to open it by removing the building's cornerstone to get the copper capsule inside. After some issues with getting it open, a crowbar finally got the job done. And inside was a collection of items to commemorate the time it had been buried. Among the objects found was a map of Ashland County, blueprints for the school, a Bible, and signed school rosters. School principal Tim Kibe described the experience as once in a lifetime. The Ashland University Department of Theater closed out its season by presenting 10-minute plays. AUTV 20's Lauren Golden has more.
The Ashland University Theater Department is putting on the 10-Minute Play Festival. Today I got to speak with a few students involved in the show.
I Can't Think of It Right Now is a play written by Nick Zagone, and it is about a middle-aged married couple who cannot remember the name of a film that they are thinking about.
My name is Gabrielle O'Brien, and I am the song keeper in the play The Wedding Song. The Wedding Song is a two-cast production, so it's a groom and a song keeper, and the groom talks about his process of marriage, and it kind of starts out in the honeymoon phase, but then my role is to get him to see the deeper meaning of marriage and to see that marriage isn't always easy, but it can end up being beautiful if it's right.
The rehearsal process has been very interesting. This show is definitely not for everyone. It's very vulgar, but I found it to be very fun. And from the beginning, you know, we got to see how each actor grew as their character was blossoming.
This has always been a tradition every other year or every other year. But this is, to my knowledge, the last one since a couple of years ago the theater department was sunsetted.
The 10-Minute Play Festival will perform on April 14th and April 15th at 7:30 p.m. in the Studio Theater. For AUTV 20, I'm Lauren Galden.
The theater department will be back with more shows in the fall, but no more to come for this academic year.
When Good Afternoon Ashland returns, we will hear from Ashland Mayor Matt Miller and learn more about a World War show set to come to the Richland County Fairgrounds.
Stay tuned. You're watching Good Afternoon Ashland.
No matter where life has drawn you, every step has taken you deeper into the journey God has for you. And now you're here. All the pain, all the joy, everything you've experienced, endured, it's all led to right now. Prepared by your past, your future awaits. Take your next step forward in faith.
You should expect a lot from your college experience. No matter where you're from or where you want to go, Ashland University promises to give each student what they need to succeed. The Ashland Promise offers lifelong connections, unlimited possibilities, and real-world opportunities. The Ashland Promise ensures affordable tuition, a transformative education, and a community of respect that will set you up for whatever success means to you. And that's truly just the beginning. Discover your promise at ashland.edu/promise.
Welcome back to Good Afternoon Ashland. In local news, on May 6th and 7th, an Ohio Civil War and World War show is set to come to the Richland County Fairgrounds. This will be the 45th annual edition of the event, highlighting the experience of the largest historical event in U.S. history. There will be 450 participants from 38 states in the show that features 750 plus tables of military memorabilia from 1775 through 1945. The memorabilia will be available for sale and display, making this the largest quality show of its kind in the country.
I had the opportunity to sit down with Mayor Matt Miller to find out what is happening in the Ashland community and some new projects coming up. Thank you for taking time to sit down with me today, Matt.
Well, I am so honored to be here, and I know there's so many things happening in the city. It's a great time to talk with you.
Alrighty. Well, my first question for you today is, you've done a lot to revamp the downtown. So what are some projects coming up in the future, kind of looking ahead for the Ashland community?
Well, we have been so fortunate to have so many different partners working with us to bring new life to downtown Ashland. And of course, we have our friends at Main Street Ashland that have played a role in revitalizing the spirit in downtown. But also, we've had so many different individuals throughout our community that have believed in our vision of what downtown could be, and they were willing to put their money into that vision. You think about it, it was just a few years ago we didn't have Ohio Fire Pizza. We had several abandoned buildings adjacent to Foundation Plaza. Just down the way, we now know South Street Grill is a wonderful restaurant for us all to visit, but it wasn't long ago before that building was also vacant. But thanks to the investments and generosity of so many different people throughout our community, there has now been a transformation take place downtown, and we couldn't be more pleased. Now, you ask what's on the horizon. Probably the project that I am most looking forward to is the grand opening of our new downtown theater. Now, for years, the theater was referred to as the Shines Movie Theater. And a lot of people ask, now, why was it called Shines? Well, believe it or not, it wasn't a standalone theater. We didn't have the only theater that went by the name Shines Theater. Shines Theaters were actually all over the state. In fact, they would have been kind of the chain like Cinemark or maybe Regal Cinema that we know today. That was the chain, Shines Theater chain, back in the 1950s. Well, if you happened to attend a movie in the Shines Theater back in 2009, right before it closed, you would know that it was in pretty rough shape. In fact, the marquee was starting to sag a little, the floors were very sticky, the theater had a very peculiar smell, and it just had seen better days. Well, the theater closed for several years. And during that time, quite honestly, it wasn't heated, it wasn't cooled, there was no activity in the building, and as a result, it continued to deteriorate, almost to the point that many thought that we should condemn the building. However, as has been the case with all of our wonderful projects, someone had a vision, someone had an idea of bringing it back to life. And I'm definitely abbreviating the story because it took much more effort than what I'm going to describe, but the bottom line is a nonprofit organization was formed, the fundraisers began, drawings were created, and ultimately we were able to raise $4 million in this community to breathe new life into the theater. So May 5th will be the grand opening of the new Ashland Theater. In fact, our name is going to be the Ashland. And this will be a theater that we can show blockbuster movies in. In fact, on opening night, grand opening weekend, May 5th, we'll be showing the much-awaited Guardians of the Galaxy 3, expected to be one of the biggest films of 2023. That is the very first film that we'll show in the new Ashland. So we're very excited about that project.
Alrighty. Well, are there any other projects potentially in the works?
You know, I have to tell you, second to the movie theater, I would be most excited about the redevelopment of the Pump House District.
Okay.
Now, the Pump House District isn't necessarily on Main Street in downtown Ashland, but it's just 2 blocks north on 4th Street. And many folks that are watching may not know what we're referring to when we talk about the Pump House District. If you look back in the history books of Ashland, you'll find that it wasn't long ago there was a giant manufacturing facility, actually several facilities on this area that we now refer to on 4th Street as the Pump House District. And it was the manufacturing headquarters of the F.E. Meyer Pump Company, where they would make the old water pumps that you'll still see out in some of the rural areas where the farmers would use them for their animals and so on. Well, that company occupied that space for some time, probably a generation or more there in Ashland, but eventually disappeared, as we've seen with many of those old-time manufacturing facilities across Northeast Ohio. Well, for years, the site was nothing more than a giant eyesore, a public safety hazard, because it had these dilapidated buildings. Once again, they were unkept. They had half been demolished by a fire, by a concentrated effort where someone actually tried to demolish it but ran out of funds to complete the project. And it really was, quite frankly, a drag on our downtown. Well, we were very fortunate several years ago to be able to secure the funding, find the contractor, get the partners that we needed to remove and clean up the site. So now what we are working on is revitalizing that area. And we have located and are partnering with a developer out of Columbus who is preparing to spend $30 to $35 million to build new modern apartment housing at that location. In addition, we are also working with a developer out of Columbus who specializes in hotels. And they are working with us to renovate the pump house building, the actual pump house office building that still stands there on the corner of 4th and Orange Street, and they hope to turn it into a boutique hotel. So basically what has happened is, in my mind, this is the ultimate picture of a turnaround. We went from one of the biggest eyesores in the city, a true blight where there were piles of rubble, and we now are talking about turning it into probably one of the hippest and most vibrant living areas in the city. And quite frankly, the time frame has only been about 5 years. So that is really an exciting project to look forward to in the future.
Alrighty, so my next question for you is, do you think the Ashland community will be able to support all these new projects and businesses, and why?
You know, I do. And what's interesting to me is it wasn't that long ago that wherever you would go in Ashland, you would always hear people say, well, why can't we be more like this nearby city? Why can't we be more like this nearby city? Why don't we have the restaurants they have? Why don't we have the stores they have? And quite candidly, on a Friday or Saturday night when the weekend rolled around, many of our local residents, many of our students here at Ashland University would head off, indeed, to those other cities for entertainment, for restaurants, for all sorts of different activities. Well, something has changed. And now what we are seeing here in Ashland is many of the folks from these outlying areas, these very cities that you and I might have visited in the past for our entertainment, they are now driving to Ashland to take advantage of these wonderful new gift shops on Main Street, these new restaurants in downtown, the South Street Grill, Linway Restaurant, and of course now a brand new movie theater. So we're confident that Ashland's brightest days are ahead of us.
Alrighty, well thank you, Matt Miller, for sitting down with me today
Yes.
and talking about all the new projects that are coming up in the downtown.
Very good. I am always excited to tell about what's happening here in our great city.
We will now be taking a short break, but after, stay tuned as we head over to the sports desk with Cade Krackus for all things sports.
No matter where life has drawn you, every step has taken you deeper into the journey God has for you. And now you're here. All the pain, all the joy, everything you've experienced, endured, it's all led to right now. Prepared by your past, your future awaits. Take your next step forward in faith.
You should expect a lot from your college experience. No matter where you're from or where you want to go, Ashland University promises to give each student what they need to succeed. The Ashland Promise offers lifelong connections, unlimited possibilities, and real-world opportunities. The Ashland Promise ensures affordable tuition, a transformative education, and a community of respect that will set you up for whatever success means to you. And that's truly just the beginning. Discover your promise at ashland.edu/promise.
Welcome back to Good Afternoon Ashland. I'm Cade Krackus, and here's your sports news local and around Ohio. In Eagle news, the Ashland University baseball team has had a competitive spring season. With less than 10 games left in the season, the Eagles have started to gear up for the Great Midwest Athletic Conference postseason tournament, which is being held from May 10th through the 13th in Mason, Ohio. The Eagles currently sit towards the top of the conference table as they look to clinch a top seed in the tournament. Last season, the Eagles came up just short from securing a conference title as they fell in the championship game to the Walsh Cavaliers, and this season, the Eagles have their sights set on revenge. The Eagle softball team, just like baseball, has had a consistent success in conference play. Currently, the team sits towards the top of the conference table as the season dwindles to a close. They are gearing up for the conference tournament, which is set to occur the opening week of May. Last season, they missed out on the conference tournament and have certainly had a bounce-back season. In Eagles soccer, the Ashland University women's team has had themselves a busy spring season. On top of spring training and games, the Eagles have been heavily involved in community outreach and service projects. AUTV 20 reporter Gage Eldridge was able to highlight the AU women's soccer team who partnered up with the youth soccer club Ashland United. Every Monday, Ashland United comes to the NISS Athletic Center on the campus of Ashland University to learn new skills and get practice with the Collegian athletes.
The Ashland University women's soccer team have been practicing with the youth club Ashland United. The experience has been rewarding for both head coach Caleb Polino and sophomore forward McKinley Mendenhall.
Our third week with the entire club here at Ashland United. We started out with a small group around 30. Now we've grown the foot skills nights on Mondays up to, I think, 88 kids last week. Service has been a big piece of our program, and we have an incredible platform and an opportunity to give back to especially the community here.
We're just in charge of organizing. We have different games that we're playing, and we just have to instruct them and help them along, and sometimes we jump in and play with them.
I think that's one thing that we strive for as a program as well, is build confidence in student athletes, and I think inspire the next generation to, get what they want out of this experience. I think that's awesome that they are able to share their experiences as a student athlete here at Ashland and their success with players that are here now as youth players.
I think it's a lot of fun. We do this actually weekly, and it's a really good time to get involved with the community and see all the kids, and I think everyone has a really fun time.
As a coach myself, you're trying to implement things in training sessions and get kids involved, and we want our players to have that kind of coaching background, so it's fun to see them in this kind of setting and in a different hat. We've had quite a few kids that have been through the Ashland community ranks, and McKinley's one of them. Riley was one last year as well. So, we have a very talented pool of kids here in the community.
I was one of those kids one time, and it's really fun to see them be part of the community and that they can stay and make an impact on the community at Ashland.
For AUTV 20, I'm Gage Eldridge.
The women's soccer team will continue to work within the community as the spring season comes to a close. And then we'll look to start to prepare for the fall season. And lastly, Cleveland sports is in the switch of seasons as the Cleveland Cavaliers season comes to a close and the Cleveland Guardians roll past their opening month. With the Cavaliers making an appearance in the NBA playoffs, the Guardians are in a good spot to do the same in an inconsistent AL Central division. In early May, the Guardians will be taking on the Minnesota Twins and Detroit Tigers, two teams competing alongside the Guardians for the reins of the division. And that is it for your sports news, local and around Ohio. Now back to Caitlin and Ethan at the news desk to wrap up this edition of Good Afternoon Ashland.
Thanks, Cade. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Good Afternoon Ashland. To keep up with AUTV 20, be sure to follow us across all social media at AUTV 20.
Stay tuned in to 88.9 WRDL, AU student-run radio station at 88.9 FM and online at WRDLFM.com.
Also pick up a copy of the award-winning newspaper, The Collegian, and check out ashland-collegian.com for more news and content from the JDM department. We would like to thank the crew here today at AUTV 20 for making this all possible. I'm Ethan Jenkins.
And I'm Caitlin Meeks. Thanks for watching.